Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you once again for stopping by. I thought I'd do a quick walkthrough video. It's been requested by a few people of just to clean the inside of your PS4. It's a standard PS4 if you're having overheating issues, and also if your fan and your CPU is overworked because it's been really loud. What you're going to need to take your PS4 apart. Firstly, what I recommend, because there's going to be four sort of stickers on the back here. I've actually taken mine off because I have cleaned it before. But what I recommend for taking them off is just flathead, a small, very small flathead screwdriver, just to get into the corners of they're like security stickers, so they are quite a task to take off. But you just need to get into the corners and sort of peel them off as you go. So you'll need a small flathead screwdriver. For the security screws that are in the back of the PlayStation, it's a universal screwdriver bit. It's called a T8 security screw, so you'll need one of them as well. And you'll also need a small posi drive screwdriver as well. I'll recommend a paintbrush for cleaning, just a very small paintbrush just to clean the inside of the fan that's inside the PlayStation. And just to get in the little bits that you can't with sort of your fingers and the vacuum I will be using. You can use compressed air, but a Hoover works just the same. So yeah, I'll recommend a brush. That if you've got a brush that you fit on your vacuum, that's also absolutely fine. So yeah, I'll recommend that too. So we'll just hop straight in. It's very simple to do. It'll sort out all your overheating issues. And it will sort out your fan will be very quiet after as well, so you shouldn't have any problems with that as well. Mine will be very dusty because once obviously you loosen the compartments inside the PS4, it allows for more dust to obviously get in there than obviously when it hadn't been sort of unscrewed and stuff like that. But I do tend to do mine every sort of 2 months, and it just keeps it in good condition. I've had this sort of since the Batman. It's a Batman special edition since that released, and I haven't had any problems, touch wood, with it so far. So we'll get straight into it. So firstly, what you're going to need your T8 security screw. Obviously there's four stickers. You've got one there, one there, one there, and one there. You don't particularly need to take this one off, but if you did want to, you can take it off anyway. But we won't be using that one, so you can take off these three security tabs. If you want to clean it out even more also, just to get a little bits of dust that are there, firstly you can just slide that off. That just pops off there, and then you just basically pull the edge out, and then basically what this is, it just gets a bit dusty here, so I am going to be giving that a hoover as well, just to suck all sort of the excess dust that has built up in the side there. So we'll leave that off for the time being, but I'll get into the back first. So basically, what you want to do, you get your T8 security. I'm just going to pop it in 2 seconds. You just want to release these three screws. Make sure you don't lose these screws, guys, because it's very important to obviously putting it back together. So obviously make sure you don't lose them. With this, it should just basically pop off. Takes a little bit of messing around, but obviously as I've done mine before, it should just pop off. Obviously there you go, you can see all the dust that builds up on the inside there. Obviously comes through the air intakes through the side, and then obviously it blows it back out your fan at the back. Obviously with the fan here, you've got all dust that builds up there. By the disc tray as well, this is all dust. So yeah, there's a lot there that needs to be cleaned. The next part, it gets a bit tricky sort of thing. It's not a massive problem, but I'll show you now. So you've got two sort of clips here, and you want to loosen them as well. These are both posi drive screws. This one's a T8 security here, and these two are T8 securities here. So you want to loosen the T8 securities, you want to take all them out. And then you also want to take out these two posi drives first. I'll take out the posi drives first. These are very long screws, guys, but once they're out, they're out. Still needs a bit more. So they're basically just clips to keep that sort of section in place. So once you take them out, it's not a problem with getting them out, they're very easy. So yeah, just pop them out. Where did I put that fix in? There it is. So the other three screws you want to take out, the T8 security screws once again. You just take these out, there's one there. One here. And one there. And then this is sort of the trickiest part of it. It takes a bit of a knack. This end's okay. This end's really easy to take out, but there's a clip here on the main board, and it's a bit of a task taking it out, but it just takes a bit of wiggling. See if I can. So that side's out. Just turn it around a little bit. Let me just pop it back in. And there we go. Just pop that out, twist it over. This was a bit of a problem with mine because it had never been done before. It took me quite a bit to get this out. I used a flathead screwdriver, but what you want to do, you just want to unplug this little clip here. Just pull that out. Mine's easy to come out now because obviously I've done it before. And then all the dust obviously builds up in here as well. So what you want to do, you want to have a little brush in there with the paintbrush, and then obviously just either blow it out with compressed air through this side and through this side. Or what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be hoovering it both sides with the brush setting, but I'll give it a little bit of a brush with the paintbrush first. And then also this gives you access to the exterior bit of the fan, where the air is going to be coming in here. The fan's going to be spinning to cool down obviously the CPU, and then it comes out the back. So obviously it'll be coming out of here. So it comes in here, cools down, and then blows out here, so you want to be cleaning inside there too. You will see when I do get the vacuum in there in a second that it will spin the fan as well, and you will see the amount of dust buildup that comes in there. It absolutely amounts everywhere, so you just want to give it a vacuum absolutely everywhere as much as you can. Just being careful of the components, because there's certain components that you don't want to sort of mess with, obviously in the main motherboard. So what we're going to do now, guys, it will be a bit loud, but I'm going to give it a hoover. I'll give it a paintbrush first, give it a little bit of a brush in the fan. So what you want to do, take your time in the individual sort of segments of the fan. Just give them a little brush out with the paintbrush. Just loosen the dust in there really. That's why I do this, just to loosen the dust and make it easy for the vacuum to get it up. And it also takes out all the bits that obviously the vacuum can't get to. So give it a bit of a brush on each segment. It does take a little bit, but obviously you want to do it as best as you can so there's no dust in there whatsoever. Obviously you won't be able to get it all out, but you can get most of it out. Compressed air will be the best way to do it, but obviously not many people do have compressed air. You can buy cans of compressed air, which you can blow it out with, and they only cost a couple of £2 or whatever. So you can do it with compressed air, but I tend to do it with the vacuum, and it does the same job really. I'm just going to give it a brush around the exterior, and then get in there as much as I can. So we'll get the hoover out. Bear with me. So what I use a little bit of it's like a brush on the hoover, and then I'm just going to get in there with the brush, have a little brush in there as the fan's going around as well with the hoover on. So obviously I won't speak much here with the vacuum on now. Okay, so that's got the most sort of dust out there now. I'm just gonna go back in there with the brush, just to have a little get as much dust out there in the fan as I possibly can. It's quite a tedious process, guys, but it is well worth it, obviously, to free up all the dust that's in the fan. And it does make it practically silent once again. It's like sort of shop bought, if you do get, obviously, all the dust out that you can. If this is your first time of doing it, you shouldn't have a problem, because there shouldn't be a massive dust build up. Obviously, if you haven't done it since you bought it, there will be a bit of dust in there, but yeah, it's just one of them. I tend to do it every 2 to 3 months if I can. But obviously there will be times where I do live with a husky. I've got a husky dog, so I do have a lot of hairs sort of in the house that do build up, and not all the vacuum gets them, and obviously they do get sucked in there as well. So I do tend to do it sort of, if it gets a bit much and it does get a bit loud, I tend to do it then as well. So yeah, that's most of the fan done. What I'm going to do, I'm going to suck it from this side here. Now, and you will see the fan spinning around as I'm doing it. That's not a problem. That should happen, because obviously that's where the air's sort of circulating inside the fan. So we'll give it a little vacuum again now, guys. Okay, that's sort of the main part of doing the fan and everything like that. So the last bit we've got to do is inside here. If you have got compressed air, I don't recommend doing this part with compressed air, because there's a lot of interior components that can be loosened by doing compressed air. So you are best off obviously doing this with the hoover and a small paintbrush. So I don't recommend compressed air with this. Obviously you can risk it if you want to, but obviously it is entirely up to you. Obviously with taking the security tabs off the back of your PlayStation, that does void the warranty, guys, so I thought I'll add that in there just in case. Obviously you didn't want to risk that as well, but obviously you shouldn't have any problems with doing this whatsoever. This is just a little clean clean up job of all the interior components as well as the fans and stuff like that. So you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever with that. So what we'll do, just loosen up all the dust inside. Give it a blow as well, guys. Loads of dust coming out of there. Wait. Nice bit of dead skin cells there and all that other stuff. Fantastic. So yeah, just give that a quick vacuum, guys, and then we'll start putting it all back together. Okay, that's basically the majority of all the cleaning, guys. Obviously you can see I've taken out as much of the dust as I possibly can. I'm just going to give it a little quick going over underneath here once again in a second, just to make sure I've got the majority of it out of the fan as well. But yeah, that's practically all there is to clean, guys. So I'll just have another little blast in there with the fan. That's that. So we're just going to put it back together now, guys. It's just as easy as taking it apart, really. So obviously with this part you want to put the clip back in here, so just pop that back in. Should just slide back in. Make sure that's properly in, guys. It's very important that that's properly back in there. You want to make sure it's properly in. Obviously just that little clasp point there, and then there's two little prongs here. You want to make sure that these two prongs just here are put back onto the that fixing correctly, and then it should just obviously slot back in place. Just going to double check that. Yeah, that's all back on correctly. And then first thing you want to do, you want to put these clips back in. So just slide the screw back in there. Make sure these are facing obviously the way that they were facing before. The only thing I want to say with these posi drive screws, just don't over tighten them, guys. There's no need to over tighten them whatsoever. So just obviously when you feel a bit of force, just take a bit of screwing, because obviously with them being such long screws. Just gonna get another size up for the posi drive, 2 seconds. That'll do. He doesn't want to tighten up, he doesn't. Just gonna do the other one first. What we'll do, we'll tighten the T8s up first, and that'll give it a bit of friction to put it back in place. So you've got one here, guys. That one's back in place. You've got one on this side as well. Again with these screws guys, as soon as you feel a bit of sort of force, counter force, stop tightening. No need to over tighten them whatsoever. And we'll pop these ones back in. Just gonna pop it down a bit further. There we go. Okay, a little bit of force there, so we'll stop. Doesn't want to go in. Just put that back out. Just going to put this back in, I'm going to reposition it just to make sure that I'm actually catching the hole from the opposite side. Because for whatever reason that does not want to screw in. Oh, there we go. It wasn't in correctly, that's why. Yeah, you've got to make sure it's fully back in, guys. Obviously, you'll just encounter the same problem I just did if it hasn't slotted back in properly. But obviously, you'll know. There we go. Sorted. There we go. Perfect. Just make sure, again, obviously guys, I do keep saying it, but just don't over tighten them two screws. It is important. There is no need for them to be over tightened, and you don't want to mess up the components by over tightening them, or mess up the screw as well. Okay, so with this, it just basically just slots back on. Obviously, that is the disc tray right there. You just want to slot that on. Coming from this end by the disc tray, pop it back over the top, and then it'll just slot back on. Easy as that. And then I'm just going to pop this back on. This obviously just slides back on. Do it from the back first, and then it'll slot back on, and then clip it back into place. And then the last 3 screws we've got to do are just the last 3 T8s from the back of the console. So just pop them back in. and that's that, guys, back together. So that should help with, obviously if your console is being far too loud, obviously you can see it's been far too loud. The reason I had to do it in the first place was my console kept coming up blue screening that it was too hot, and I needed to make sure, let it cool down before I was to turn the console back on. I did a bit of research on Google and this is what I came across, and I haven't had a problem with that since, not one problem. It's never come up with that blue screen ever since. I just make sure I do this roundabout, as I said, 2 months, every 2 months, every 3 months. It starts to get a little too loud, I do tend to do it then as well. But apart from that, just make sure you maintain it as best as you can. But you shouldn't have a problem. It won't overheat again if you do this. It should go back down to practically silent now with all the dust that has been taken out of the fan, and by the CPU as well. So again, guys, I hope this has helped. Obviously, I hope it isn't too difficult for you to follow as well. I do find it quite simple, and obviously once you've done it a few times, it should be second nature for you, really. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, if this has helped you out. If you do have any questions of how to take it apart or anything to do with that, just leave them in the comments below. And thanks for watching, guys. Peace.